Hi everyone, you're here because you're interested in health facility planning. This online course will introduce the specialized aspects of health facility planning. Healthcare services need to be planned appropriately for the correct locations, providing just the right services which are in demand. Healthcare buildings need to be appropriately briefed, correctly designed, future-proofed, and made affordable for owners, operators, and patients. Hospitals must be configured for the required specializations, equipped correctly, and operated safely. They must respond to the context, including physical environment, population mix, models of care, and local custom. They must comply with the relevant standards and guidelines. Participants usually come from 5 continents. Hundreds of them have completed the courses over the last year alone. These courses are CPD certified. Let me introduce myself. I'm Aladdin Niazman, Director of TAHPI. My profession is health planning. I have around 34 years of experience. I have personally briefed and designed over 150 hospital projects in a wide range of disciplines in over 20 countries, both public and private. I've been presenting TAHPI's health facility planning courses for the last 15 years. This course is intended for professionals who are already experienced in related disciplines but lack the specialized knowledge required for healthcare planning and design. This course is particularly suited for general practice architects, engineers, interior designers, hospital managers, project managers, health authorities, and medical equipment planners. A minimum of 3 years of experience in the relevant field is preferred but not essential. At the end of the course, you will have sufficient competency to understand the basic principles, science, processes, and practices of health planning, develop the basic capabilities in the application and practice of the subject, have an overview of health facility planning as a branch of health planning discipline, learn how to prepare briefing and schedule of accommodation, learn about master planning principles and models. I invite you to enroll in the course or try the free preview if you want to explore this further. Health facility planning courses are delivered over 9 sessions, some short, some long. Some short sessions are grouped together in one day. Some long sessions take several days to deliver. Session times are set to suit most of the attendees, generally after hours. So if you can spare a moment, please come along with me and I'll give you an overview. Session 1 is the Introduction to Health Planning. This is the super discipline that comes before health facility planning. This is a foundation for everything that comes later. We start health planning with a problem statement. Healthcare facilities take too long to plan and build. Healthcare delayed is healthcare denied. Healthcare facilities are too expensive to build and operate. Healthcare takes an increasing portion of the economy. The demand for healthcare is rising. We conclude that this cannot go on forever. Therefore, we need to control healthcare costs and to keep it sustainable. We need systematic, holistic health planning. That is what the rest of this course focuses on. We set some simple but powerful objectives and we look at some strategic steps to achieve them. The challenge of healthcare economy demands that we leave no stone unturned. What is the rational framework that we need? We look at some of the problems and processes that we've inherited from the past so that we don't blindly repeat them. We look at health planning as an ecosystem, a system with complex relationships. We navigate the health planning framework through simple relationship diagrams. Then we take each one of the subjects and we expand them through the course as we go. For example, we start with health service planning. We expand that into the subjects of demand, supply, and gap. We look at health service demand through the definition of population catchments, definition of services to be studied, creation of scenarios and adjustment of settings, and determination of the raw demand. Then that is converted and calculated to become key planning units or KPUs. In a similar manner, we look at health service supply capture. We look at the tools and techniques. We look at a few examples of the software. Look at the mapping systems which result from electronic capture. These are automated maps and we look at several examples. For example, this one in Dubai and this one in Abu Dhabi. Mapping systems which are mobile for the public. We use the demand and supply to calculate the gaps using the simple formula of demand minus supply equals the gap by all the different measures that are required. That will eventually result in the reporting on the outcome. For example, capacity planning reports at a city scale or country scale. Once we have identified the gaps, we need to do supply planning, that is, new supply to meet the gap. We cover this subject as well through heat maps that indicate the areas of the greatest gap. For example, the darkest colors in this heat map will indicate the areas of the biggest gap. Distribution is by level of service, known as role delineation level or RDL. In session 1, we also cover the subject of health facility guidelines. We do this through international health facility guidelines at www.healthfacilityguidelines.com. We also touch on a number of international guidelines which are based on the same foundation and structure as IHFG, International Health Facility Guidelines. We look at the definitions that are used in these guidelines. For example, definition of functional planning units or FPUs, of which there are 50, and also standard components which are standardized rooms which are further defined within the guidelines. We look at the navigation of the guidelines, how to read them, how to find everything. For example, how to navigate for functional planning units. Look at each one. How to find individual room templates. Open them. Look at individual plans. For example, this one. How to drill down into functional planning units, schedules of accommodation, functional relationships diagrams within the schedule of accommodation, what rooms are required according to what role delineation level. Once those rooms are found, how do we get the room data sheets or RDS and room layout sheets or RLS. Finally, in session 1 we cover the subject of recurrent cost planning or the running cost through human resources cost, goods and services. So for human resources, we go into a bit more detail. We define human resources by functional planning units or FPU at the level of FTE or full-time equivalent. We define each one of these and go into detail. We also look at tools and techniques on how to divide everything up by FPUs, by job categories, by years, by various formulas for adjustment. The course material is in the same chronological order as the delivery of healthcare, from the initial service planning, progressing through guidelines, briefing, budgeting, furniture and fittings, fixtures and equipment, design, construction, human resource planning, recurrent cost planning, and maintenance. This course progress bar appears at the top of all the slides. Session 2 covers project briefing and schedule of accommodation or SOA. This is where it is on the navigation screen. It covers a lot of important subjects. For example, how to extract information from key planning units in the service plan into functional planning units, then divide it up into schedules of accommodation, then how to do the calculation of net to gross, including travel and engineering, and to arrive at the total project area. We look at the subject of master and clone hierarchy in the schedule of accommodation, including templates for the rooms and the quantities of those rooms. How do they add up? How do you present the schedules? How do you summarize them? We cover the presentation of the schedules of accommodation in the same style as the guidelines. We also cover software tools for automated briefing in compliance with health facility guidelines that are chosen for the project. Furthermore, we cover room data sheets, the coverage of room data sheets, the subjects that are included, and the matching room layout sheets, plans, elevations, reflected ceiling plans, isometrics, axonometrics, and perspectives for each room of a healthcare facility. Session 3 includes HFPS tools and techniques. These include software for service planning demand module, service planning supply capture module, mapping module for health authorities, mapping module for health domain assets, supply planning module and heat maps, certificate of need or CON, briefing module, auto specs module, printing and download module, equipment planning and purchasing module, products module, budgeting module, HR planning and recurrent cost module, car parking calculator, project program calculator, Revit family market, document management module, and finally defects management mobile module for iPad. As you've noticed, these modules are also in the chronological order of delivering health planning from A to Z. Session 4 covers the critical subject of functional relations in healthcare facilities. We focus on functional relationships at hospital level. This is a relationship between FPUs or hospital departments. It also includes the flows for patients, staff, goods, services. We look at each department and the relationship between the rooms, the flows and the corridors between the rooms, adjacencies, and relationships. We look at the permutations of groups of rooms which are critical to the departments such as this one, the operating theaters. We look at the vertical implications of this in documents called blocking and stacking, that is the global arrangement of activities within a healthcare facility. We look at massing and future-proofing by allowing for zones for expansion and staging. Session 5 covers certain principles for health facility planning and design. We cover what standards, what functional relationships, what spatial configurations, what finishes and materials, what building services. We look at different building typologies that suit healthcare: low-rise, high-rise, expansion potential, again either horizontally or vertically, size from the smallest to the largest, such as these medical cities. We look at modular plans as foundation for modular construction. We look at plug-and-play techniques, universal grids, standard components. We look at templates for different departmental designs. We look at using room layout sheets or RLS as foundation for creating catalogs of room types that can be plugged into different facilities. And importantly, rooms to be modular in the way that in the same grid we can have bedrooms, medical imaging scanning rooms, bed bays, operating theaters, recovery bays, critical care beds, consultation rooms, and even a basement car park, all within the same grid. This is a concept of plug and play that results in the creation of catalogs of room types that can be plugged into your plans. We look at how we start from FPUs, schedules of accommodation, functional relationship diagrams to rapidly create catalogs of room types. We can look at room layout sheets within the BIM platform in 2D, 3D, and more. Once these catalogs are created, we can assemble the rooms within modular construction grids or structure. We look at a lot of videos for the techniques used in modular construction, including this factory that shows modular rooms, modular MEP. Finally, we look at a video of this 80% prefabricated hospital, 250 beds for cardiology, the winning of 3 different awards. Session 6 covers master planning and campus planning. It covers the foundations of this subject: site location and information, site boundary, setbacks, site analysis, preliminary blocking and stacking, project budgeting, and intended staging. We start from the beginning: site selection, site information, contour surveys, site analysis, including sun paths, windrows, and other factors. We look at the relationship between blocking and stacking and site planning, all the factors that have to be considered: ownership, access, transport, and car parking. We look at the 4th dimension, that is time. That means staging and phasing. Look at different models of master planning by name: such as podium and tower, mall or gallery. These are different styles of master planning. Spine, stratified, with plenty of examples. Look at the use of hybrid models by combining some of those strategies together. Look at the outcomes of real projects. Look at some quick tips on how to start the planning of a hospital, for example, how to conceive of circulation patterns, how to relate all the departments together, how to do the permutations and massage it into a final outcome. Session 7 is a design session. It covers the special requirements of 5 critical functional planning units: inpatient unit, operating theaters, intensive care unit, emergency unit, and medical imaging unit. For example, for the functional planning unit that is the inpatient unit, which is wards, we start with 4 basic geometries as a foundation of nearly all inpatient unit designs. We look at each one of those, followed by plenty of realistic examples. That's a linear model, another linear model, a realistic example of section of that model, the T model, L model, hybrid model, racetrack model, and even a mental health model, which is a very complex model. In session 7 part 2, we cover day surgery, inpatient surgery, endoscopy, and integrated surgery. As usual, we start with functional relationship diagrams under many different models. For example, single corridor model, double corridor model, and hybrid models. We cover air pressurization regimes between the different rooms, including 8 permutations of the key rooms that make up the suite. We also cover endoscopy and its relationship with integrated surgery. We provide many examples such as this, which is a combination of day surgery and endoscopy, including all the flows, for example, for reprocessing. We provide many realistic examples of inpatient surgery back-to-back with day surgery. We provide clear diagrams to show the flows, the zoning, and the relationship between the different rooms. Session 7 part 3 focuses on intensive care unit or ICU. We look at the manageable pod designs or 12 beds, or larger ones which are made of 2 pods back to back. We look at what's an acceptable back-to-back pod: ICU to ICU, ICU to PICU, ICU to CCU, ICU to HTU. We look at plenty of examples of real ICU design that has been built and successful. This is a pod design, 2 pods for 1 unit. This is an example of 2 modern ICU rooms with services from the ceiling, observation bay, and triple sliding glass to the corridor. It's a pod design with 3 pods. This is a realistic design for 3 pods. Session 7 part 4 covers emergency units. Emergency is sensitive to size, so we provide all the different permutations. For example, small to medium units or medium to large units. Provide examples of realistic emergency units. We practice many of the different flows. We also look at very large units. Plenty of realistic examples are given here. For example, these are 2 designs provided for exactly the same brief. Participants are invited to decide which one was a successful design. Session 7, Part 5 covers medical imaging units or radiology. Similar to emergency, medical imaging is very sensitive to size. So we cover small size units as well as large size units. This is a conventional large size unit. We also cover large size modular units. Session 8 covers client consultation and sign-off. There's a consultation framework, stakeholders involved, lines of reporting, managing expectations, role of standardization, approval, and sign-off. We cover the project consultation methodology and framework in a systematic way. We define what we really need to achieve. What, how, where, why. What are the established methodologies? How much should be reused? How much should be innovated? What should happen to the results? What happens with the next project? How much of the knowledge is passed on? There's a tiered consultation structure. There are 4 tiers: Steering Group or SG, Executive Working Group or EWG, Project Working Group or PWG, Standardization Working Group or SWG. Each one of these will be defined, the roles and responsibilities described. Standardization is all about repeating good knowledge and passing the information to the next generation. We cover this by some ready-made documents to cover consultation methodology, serviceability, ergonomics, building services, and performance. We provide examples of things that need to be explicitly approved by the client. For example, schedules of accommodation or SOA. These should be approved. How we get that approval is subject of this lesson. We also get approvals for room data sheets, the foundation of all design. Which elements of the design are first covered by room data sheets, and therefore they should be approved. Session 9, which is the last session, covers project coordination and integration of services. It includes consultants required, lead consultants, core consultants, support consultants, sequence of work, and contract types. We define the responsibilities of design consultants and sub-consultants. There are many consultants and each one has a role to play. We cover the sequence of projects, for example, from project definition to project design phase, schematic design, design development, construction documentation, trade packaging, construction administration, and even post-construction, which includes defects liability period and post-occupancy evaluation. We look at the sequence of events from design to construction, including parallel phases such as early works. We look at the integration of equipment or biomedical engineering with design. We look at different contracting types for construction. For example, design, bid, build, design and build, construction management, turnkey. There are many more that we cover. Finally, we come to the end of the course. At that point, there's an exam. It's an online exam with 60 questions over 60 minutes. At the end of that period, the participants will press the submit button and the results will be announced instantly. That will be the end of the course. The next thing is we review all of the questions and I provide all the correct answers so everybody knows where they got it right, where they got it wrong. Written certificates are posted to each of the participants. Optionally, participants can provide testimonials. There are hundreds of testimonials on the website of these courses. Thank you very much for staying with me and allowing me to give you a synopsis of these courses. I look forward to seeing you at the next course.